in the region. And if you are looking at probably the world production of more than 60 or 65 million tons of CPO, that is the region of Sabah, Sarawak, the Indonesian islands, spreading around all this area. This is where the oil would have come from. Now, the industry has taken place. Industry to develop this oil, to really go downstream, to value add. And this is something new now that's happening when we talk about business and industry today, where you just don't sell the product itself, the oil itself, but you want to develop the downstream to create the products. And if we are doing that in our part of the world, and this region from Sabah, it's already happening in Indonesia. Indonesia makes a lot of effort to develop the downstream of palm oil industry. And it is happening now, so that they are not going to make it easy for selling the CPO out of the country. If there is a game plan before, where you just produce the resources, where the end products, the value add is happening in other parts of the world, for example in Singapore, things probably would have changed now. There's a change in the game plan because these other places within the region is trying to develop the product itself. So here again, you have to understand things that are happening within the region, not just so much of when I look at the context of the seminar, this forum that you have here, in terms of just talking about innovation, talents, and some of the other wider topics of financial crisis, the cost of fuel. It is more important to talk about the relationship between some of these countries. And that's very important because if anything that is done in a certain country in restricting some of the resources that it can go out and be developed in other parts of the world, then again, change of the game plan would mean that there has to be a change in your movement plan. Because if you think that a lot of the products will be produced in Singapore, where the resources will come this way, and if it's not coming this way, it's happening that way, I think, does it really matter? I think you will be moving there to move the products from the region where the resources are. Why? Because these countries have taken upon themselves that instead of just selling the resources, they are building on the resources. They are putting value add to the business. And this is what is happening in the world. Probably that alone would make it interesting if there's any form of discussions that would take place for the next, I don't know, for today or for tomorrow. Of course, the other things, other than what would happen in other countries, affecting business would be, of course, related to, I just mentioned just now, rising fuel costs. I think here in this particular context is not so much of the cost of oil, crude oil going up. I think it's the fact that within the world now, there is a bigger crisis because of depletion of the fuel itself. Now, when you are getting less of the fuel, what are you going to do about it? And what would be the alternatives that you will develop from there? And this is the next product I want to talk about in terms of business in Sabah, because looking at oil and gas that is available within the same region that I talked to you about the plantation, about the oil palm, we are also sitting on an area where it is quite rich in the production of oil and gas. North of Singapore here, which is basically the sweet potato shape of the Peninsula Malaysia, the other side of the Borneo side is getting more oil now because our oil and gas within the peninsula is depleting and probably will last, if the statistics are right, probably for the next 7 to 10 years. But back home to where we are in Sabah and Sarawak, in the Borneo Island, with the Indonesian islands, Indonesia is basically many islands. Within that region, we are sitting on oil and gas reserves for the next 40 or 50 years. And you see that a lot of activities are moving towards that area now. And that is why today, we talk about oil and gas in Sabah like never before. And people who have come to Sabah would probably be thinking that, well, is this place really have oil and gas? Believe me, we have it. Because Petronas is investing quite heavily in bringing the oil on shore and also to bringing the gas on shore. And we also put a stamp that please don't let it fall through. Let it land. Let it land in Sabah. Why? Because of what I said before this, that we will probably not be disposing of the fuel, of the oil itself, but we will rather have it to develop downstream activities. We will create products, whether it's from the gas into ammonia-based urea. Petronas just invested 4.5 billion in setting up within the region the biggest fertilizer plant, urea-based. And there will be more, probably another 2 or 3 plants, in billions of investment going there. And if they produce fertilizers from it, we need people to move the products out. So here again, when it is beginning to happen, probably it's also good to begin to learn about what we have in Sabah. I have gone through this quite quickly. I've covered tourism, I've covered palm oil. I think in the palm oil industry, other than the fact that we produce things that either is edible or oil chemical, but it's basically from the waste itself, from the palm oil industry, the biomass, the 26 million tons of it, those things that you squeeze the oil that you throw away in the past, that biomass is now producing energy, believe it or not. We talk about renewable energy, that is something to talk about. So we have the resources within the region, not just in Sabah. And when I talk, I rather prefer that we talk what we have within the region. And believe me, Singapore is not far from where with all these things that are happening. I come here in less than 2 hours. How many of you have been to Sabah? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not enough. Not enough. I will ask Paul for another 15 minutes. No. It's only 7 or 8.
You didn't praise me, so no.
I will take another 15 minutes if you would promise me that you will hear me again in Sabah. Would that be alright?
Come on.
My appreciation to the organizers. I think I've taken quite a bit of the time. My time is up.
Yes.
Yeah. I have taken the opportunity also to open up a booth for some area to promote the 2 basic areas that I talk about in the industry of palm oil and also oil and gas, and how if we go downstream, there are products, and when there are products, there are business for the supply chain. Thank you.